The views and opinions expressed by the following program are those of the host, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of this station or Webster Rock Hill Ministries, its management, or other hosts or underwriting sponsors. Programs presented by KWRH-LP are for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Greetings, listeners in listener land. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of In Tune. Our guest in studio is an American composer, guitarist, and recording artist who embodies the musical philosophies and traditions of classical North India, traditional jazz, and classical composition with immersive studies in each of these disciplines. He's considered one of the finest jazz guitarists in St. Louis and has been voted one of the top guitarists by the St. Louis Riverfront Times Readers Poll. Played symphony halls, jazz festivals, concert venues, clubs, charity events, and was one of the first artists to enter Russia from St. Louis on a 3-city tour after Perestroika in 1994. Now, if those of you who are old enough to know what Perestroika was, I am. He shared the stage with Michael Manning, Imrat Khan, Jeff Haynes, Milton Hinton, opened for Michael Franks, Spyro Gyra, Chris Bonte. He's been featured in films, television shows, and advertisements, undergraduate work at Berklee College of Music, graduate work at Webster University, the only guitarist to be admitted into the prestigious Imrat Khan Harani, India's most prestigious family of musicians. He's ranked the top 3 of the New Age performing recording artists by B.T. Fasmer of New Age Music Guide, a 2-time Global Music Awardee, nominated for numerous ZMR awards, and he was a 2017 ZMR nominee with a Top 10 Album of the Year nomination. He's a Grammy voter, has been on the ballot twice in 4 years for his recordings Eagle Mountain and Open Waters. He's created a new musical syntax integrating Indian classical music and Western music, encompassing elements from classical, folk, bluegrass, and jazz. Composer, guitarist, and performing artist Todd Mosby. Welcome to In Tune, Todd.
Wow, it's quite an intro. You read it all.
Well, we want our folks to know we just don't have,
Just
the minor
anybody.
league guests on our show.
Ain't no local yokel. Although I am, but
You're local, but you're not a yokel.
Yeah.
I was really impressed when I was doing my research for the kinds of things that you have done, the places you've been, and you're going to be going on tour, which we're going to talk about later on in the broadcast. But tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, so people can get a background on who you are. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into your playing. You're actually going to play, so folks, listen in. This is great. He's one of the finest jazz guitarists in St. Louis, probably if not the Midwest area. He has an album that's called Four Guitars, which features Will Ackerman, Vin Downs, Todd, and Trevor Gordon Hall, and that's available. And all these albums are available on iTunes, right?
iTunes, Amazon, the normal places, Spotify, my website, toddmosby.band, and CD Baby.
So there you go, folks.
Actually, even Euclid Records, you can get hard copy of my new recording, Open Waters.
Okay, all right.
There
it is there. So Todd, who's Todd Mosby?
Who is he?
Wait. Where did you go to school? Where'd you go to high school?
Oh, no, don't ask me that, please.
Where'd you go to high school? Okay, all right.
All right, okay, I'll confess. I went to Whitfield.
Did you? Okay.
All right.
That's all right. Okay.
But that was back in the
Sorry
day
to
when
ask.
it was considered not what it is today. It was a very the school actually was a microcosm of the world that I'm in and have been in as a musician for a long time, because even though it was a very small school, the environment was the social environment. I mean, it had everything from top end preppy to inner city kids to kids out in the farmlands of Illinois. I mean, it was amazing.
That's good.
And so I was able to cross a lot of platforms there. Although they did not offer music, it was kind of a catalyst. It forced me into areas that I wouldn't have gone normally to find music. So, and it actually spurred my interest. So when I went to college, the 2 headmasters there, one of them, well, actually both of them said, look, we got a really good school for you, and we think you'd do well there. They've got a great music program. It'd be a good place for you to go and check it out. It's small. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake City, Utah. It was Westminster College, probably the only non-Mormon college there.
In Utah, right?
Yeah, or in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
It's still there, actually, but they had a phenomenal music program. I went there and started my first class. in music where I actually was playing with an ensemble, you know, and studying it, like, oh, what is this scale? You know, I did play it around in St. Louis and like watched tub bands doing bluegrass and everything else coming out of the 70s folk rock era. But I entered that zone, and it was so much fun. I just thought, wow, man, I think I could do this for the rest of my life. And there's some great players there, and I got great guidance. But all of them are leaving the next year. So this other friend of mine from St. Louis said, "Hey, Todd, I'm going to Berkeley. Why don't you go there?" I went, "What?" I said, "Are there trees? Are there mountains?" And they said,
A lot of buildings.
"Oh yeah, come on up," because I wanted mountains and trees. So I'd never been to a big city. I'm from St. Louis, you know. It's like the suburbs, and the biggest city block I knew was something maybe like four, you know. Anyway, definitely not, you know, a square mile, you know, with 4 universities on it.
Right.
So I got there, it was like a concrete jungle, man. But you know, it was a very interesting experience on a lot of levels. I grew in a lot of ways. I saw a lot of things even more. Actually, I think what I saw am I going on too long?
No, you're fine.
Okay, so what I saw the most out of Berkeley, I mean, I saw all the great jazz artists. I didn't even know who they were.
Wow.
I saw like Joe Pass. I knew Joe Pass, but I saw like Bill Evans. I saw Pat Metheny when he first broke with Lyle Mays.
Wow,
I
really?
saw, oh my God, just all the, Eberhard Weber, John Abercrombie. I mean, Mike Stern. I mean, I would go down to this club every Thursday night and hear him play. And you could actually pay $2 and sit in with a band if you wanted to. But I just had my tape recorder, and I was so, you know, enamored. It was so difficult for me to learn music, and I was still trying to figure out how do you hold a pick, you know. And not a good place to be figuring that out at Berkeley. But I went there mainly for composition and arranging, and then I found out in my last year that, you know what, you better get your guitar stuff together because you're gonna be playing your own stuff, and you better, you know. So anyway, fast forward years later, now Mike Stern is my mentor in New York City. So whenever I go there, I hook up with him and, you know, do a quick lesson and visit and stuff. So
See, even if you've been playing a long time, you can still learn some things and get some information and
yeah, I was having
nice feedback.
I was having a hard time with Giant Steps, and Tom Kennedy from St. Louis. I knew. He plays with Mike regularly. I called him. I said, look, you know, I checked out Mike's videos, and this is like a couple years back. I said, can you just, like, you know, give me his number? So I hounded the man. I even went to his gig, you know, when I hit New York City, because I was there for some conferencing and APAP conferencing, and then called him up. Finally, you know, I met with Tom because I hadn't seen him. We had dinner, and I just said, he goes, how's it going with Mike? Because I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I'll just go online and, you know, figure this stuff out. And go, so anyway, the next day I get a call from Mike, and hey, can you come on over, man? I said, oh yeah, sure. And so anyway, so that was the beginning of a really interesting journey.
So when was the first time you remember picking up a guitar, or why guitar? Why not bass, or why not another musical instrument?
Okay, I have a picture of myself, probably about 6. My dad was giving me this like wooden Lindell guitar from Famous Bar or something, you know.
Oh.
And yeah, I know. We're talking days. And he said, you know, because I saw the Beatles, and my great-grandmother was always bringing musical stuff over, so I loved beating on these things and making noise, you know, organized. But so that was the first time, but I didn't have lessons. My parents couldn't figure out, they just thought, well, you just do it, you know. So it's like, okay, and it was so hard, I couldn't do it. So, but finally I went to trumpet at 13, and
Neighbors
started,
like that.
Huh?
The neighbors like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's a whole nother story, but I got into a lot of Motown and, you know, playing along to the records and stuff. About that same time, I was hanging out in Clayton, because I was living in New City, and hanging out in Clayton, and there was this beautiful little shop. This guy was an importer, and from like all around the world, but a lot of Indian stuff from India. And he always had his incense burning, and these really cool music playing. And he had these records, you know, sitar records, sarangi records, tabla. So I'd file through those and save my allowance, and then just kind of go and buy those records and the books too. Cahill Gilbran, and he turned me on to a lot of stuff. I don't even remember the man's name. I remember it was over by Seven Gables. It wasn't in that building, but it was like in that stores to the right of there, just south of there. And I did a lot of. That was when I first started really hearing Indian music and really digging it.
And did that kind of continue when you were at Berkeley?
Berkeley was that was my main focus. It was really, really difficult. This was not an easy journey. It's the only thing that's really, I think that's why I'm still in it, because I'm still learning. It's so vast. And at first it was so difficult, and I'm not alone. I talked to Mike. He goes, "Oh man, I get headaches." He was like Mike Stern, and I'm like, "God, well, good." And then I'm in good company, because it was like painfully difficult. It was slow. I was just like, "Oh God," And that's what kept me going. Was the fact that it was so hard and challenging, and today it still is, and it's challenging on a number of levels. But maybe in another lifetime, it'll move it forward, and another world or planet, wherever, and where music is appreciated a little bit, is like rewarded more, but financially, but this is more of a service industry. I've always thought of it like that,
right?
And I just wish the rest of the world would catch up, like doctors and lawyers and other professionals. If they gave their services away like we do, I think it'd balance the scales a little bit more.
I think people, they get what I'm going to say, but maybe they don't get it unless they've experienced it, that when you watch someone play or perform, whether it be like an ice skater or a skier or a gymnast or a musician or an athlete, that something looks easy or it sounds, wow, that's really great, that's not something you just all of a sudden, pick up an instrument or just go out and do. It takes years and years of toil and practice and effort and muscle memory and thought. And then once all that, technical kind of gets under your fingers a little bit, the musicality can really start to move then, and you can really start to play the music as it was intended, and you're not worrying about what the note is and am I getting this key right or whatever like that.
Yes, it becomes second nature. So it's I was listening to Jason Bowe, the classical guitarist, explain that whole concept. It's basically the 10,000 hour rule, where you have to practice 10,000 hours. Like a golfer will practice the same move exactly, or a baseball batter or pitcher or whatever, the exact same way. But okay, there's the difference, because I practiced years not accurately, and that was bad. So I had to go to Imrat to straighten myself out, because nobody else could. Imrat Khan, but the rule is, it's like if you were to liken it to a golfer. Okay, for putting, let's say they'll first start an inch from the hole, hit it, then back it up till eventually at the end of the green, and they're hitting it straight into the hole. Now the reason they do that, if you started just off from the back of the green and hit, you would miss. But what you're doing is you're building on consistent accuracy every time. So there's a number of hits that you do that is totally accurate, that makes that 10,000 rule, very, very powerful. So every time you hit that ball, you're right in the hole. So every time you practice a scale, if you're going too fast, you slow it down, man. So you can really bring it into the muscle memory and get it in deep. If I'm like I was working on a tune the other night, chord progression, it's like, oh man, I was blanking out in some areas. So I just, stop, focus in on this. Because if you run it blanking out, that's how you're going to perform it. So everything, just like that analogy with the golf, putting, it's just like that. You have to slow it down, isolate the areas, iron them out, so that when you go on, you're on. Now, granted, I've been performing for about 30 years, and I've got a lot of background, so I can fall into a hole or a blank spot and pull out at a professional level that will still be acceptable, just like I can go on any stage, and if I'm not feeling well, I still have a level of professionalism that I can flip that switch on. I'm there. It doesn't matter if I got a major headache or whatever, or totally, And then the music itself, and when you're playing by yourself, that's one way, one gig, but when you're playing with others, that's a whole nother gig, and the energy level is just different, you
Right.
know. So you're contributing to the whole pie. But anyway, so there's a level, you switch, you flip on, and I can go there at any moment, any time, hopefully.
Yeah, when you can say your performance is okay and other people thought it was really great, you know, then you're doing okay, because that's true. You can't be on top of the game all the time, and there are
Right.
certain physical things like headaches and other things that happen to you that distract you from really giving your energy towards that.
Right, and I do a lot of performing arts centers, and I mean, you cannot, these things are like, these contracts are set out sometimes 3 years in advance, and the prep work that goes in, you cannot not show. Now, if you're a sideman, you can do that, but I mean, even still, you can't, because you're on tour with a bunch of people, and it's like, it's a team effort, So everybody, and you're there for the audience, you've got this music that it's so fun to write music and hear it. Like when I'm practicing, I have a loop machine, I'll be playing, oh man, what a cool progression. I start jamming on it. I'm going, oh man, it's like so exciting. And then it's like, then it's like, I want to share this with other people. So to be the first one to hear that and then go out and share it with others, it's just an amazing thing.
Now, do you mainly write for yourself, or do you write for other people too?
I since about 2004. I mean, I had a recording studio, or actually it was a composition studio, and I was doing a lot of work locally for video, some TV, and production work as well. But the market for what I was doing was not in St. Louis, so I sold all my gear. No, actually, it's 1999. I sold all that gear, and I just started writing music for stage and performance. And I mean, I would write, because I was playing corporate gigs, so I wrote music for corporate gigs. I mean, with doing the straight-ahead standards, I would play bars. I wrote music for bars. It was more upbeat, in your face, not totally in your face, but upfront kind of music. Then I wrote music for total background. And so I wrote for the situations I was in. And that's how a composer needs to do. I just wrote a symphony off of for 2 recordings off Eagle Mountain.
Wow, a symphony.
First one with Will Ackerman, and yes, and 2 tone poems off of here, the title track Eagle Mountain, and also Moon Song. That's going to be performed in March by the U City Symphony. Yeah, with Leon Burke, and also, so that's going to be the opener for Michael Silverman's piece with Petal Williams and Back to the Future. So it's going to be a really fun evening.
Hey, we're talking to Todd Mosby. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of In Tune. Speaking of that, I had that down here. That's March the 3rd.
Yes.
So it's premiering the 3-tone poems from your CD on Eagle Mountain. And it will also be along with Moon Song and Mountain Lullaby as an interlude section. There'll be visual accompaniment. And that first performance, it received its first performance in April of 2018 with only Eagle Mountain on the program. But this is going to be March 3rd, 2020, the U City Orchestra. Leon Burke. I know Leon accompanied me when I was a clarinet player up at University of Kansas.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah,
Leon and Leon's a U City guy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Mark's a U City guy too.
Okay, cool.
So everybody's in the house here. And Mike is a Webster Groves guy. He lives not too far here from the studio. So,
but he hails from U City.
Right. He hailed from U City, correct. So you also did a premiere concert down at the World Chess Hall of Fame, which I found was interesting. What was that like?
That was really fun. Okay, I got a call from the cellist. Help me, I just forgot his name.
Bjorn Ronheim.
Oh, Bjorn, yeah, Ronheim. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. So at first I was gonna do. He said, "Yeah, why don't you just come on and do your solo gig?" I said, "Oh, okay," but I knew Bjorn played, and he was totally open to performing. So I said, "Look, why don't I bring you in on a few tunes?" And he said, "Fine," just awesome, because some of the tunes I was going to do actually on the Eagle Mountain has cello on it, and the Open Waters has some violin. So I transcribed. Okay, so anyway, we wound up doing. I had played. Did the opening thing for the St. Louis Indian Music Festival.
Right.
So I opened that, and I was working with a tabla player. So I said, "Hey, I just threw it out there. Why don't I come down with a tabla? I'll do the solo, and then I'll mix in some tabla, Indian, and then we'll bring, build it from solo to duo to trio. And he said, great, excellent. He got some extra funding for the tabla player. And, it was beautiful. I love those kind of situations because I can write and rescore my music and reimagine it for different instruments because that's what it's about. And the room is amazing. It's like a salon concert. It's like think of like late 1800s in Paris, maybe Chopin or even up to Debussy, playing in these beautiful salons with a beautiful hall, nice room, nice acoustics, and it was really cool.
Very cool. So when we come back we're going to take a break here coming up. When we come back from the break, I want to talk to Todd about, he's actually going to play a little bit for us. And he has two instruments here. He has his Martin guitar, but he also has an instrument called
the Imratguitar.
The Imratguitar, and he is, I would say, you're the inventor. You're the founder of the Imratguitar. You're the builder of the Imrat.
No, actually, it was a team.
Okay.
It was a design team. So it was myself, Imrat Khan, and Kim Schwartz. Kim Schwartz was the luthier, the builder. Imrat we used to go to for design concepts, say, is this going to work, is this what we want? Oh, no, change this, and then I put everything to my design specs. So I was the one that kind of coordinated everybody. I did the commission on it, and this is the fifth in its series.
Okay.
It still needs some modifications.
Yeah.
And then we'll go.
So we will hold that up for the listeners so they can see that. No, we will describe what that Imratguitar is like because it is different, and it's like what I would say a cross between a sitar and a guitar.
Yes, it has two double necks, or a double neck. It's a modern day harp guitar, so the strings are pitched above the high string, so it's a very angelic sound, and then it's got basically 4 plain strings, a very wide neck so you can pull on it, and it's got a very round sound.
Okay, we will come back after the break. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of In Tune. You're listening to KWRH 92.9 FM, your community radio station in Webster Groves, Missouri. Welcome back to In Tune. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston. We've been talking to Todd Mosby, who is a composer-guitarist in the area, but he's just not a composer-guitarist. He's more an extraordinary kind of individual who has really reached a realm of musicality that many people do not. Matter of fact, he's going to have a concert. They're going on tour, and his concert is next Thursday, January 16th, at the Sky Music Hall, 930 Kerrs Mill Road in Baldwin, and that is a 7:30 to 9:30 concert. The doors open at 7. You can get tickets at toddmosby.band or Eventbrite and just punch in Todd Mosby. That's Mosby. So that's kind of the kickoff of the tour. We're going to talk a little bit more about the tour, but Todd's going to play a little bit for us, and he's got the Imrat before us right now. We're looking at that, and it looks like a regular guitar with an extended neck, which goes to kind of one of the shoulders of the guitar.
18. It looks like there's 18 strings on that. Is that
18?
18. So tell us a little bit more about this particular instrument.
Okay, so you can call it a hybrid sitar guitar, or more of a contemporary harp guitar, or Imrat would call this a guitar of this century because it allows Western musicians to access Eastern or Indian melody, the intricacies of that through pulling. And then you've got the harp strings. So what that does, I don't know if you can hear that, it resonates. So what it does is actually catch the
Catch the harmonics.
You're pushing, pulling.
Yeah.
And extends it out longer. So also it's where you tune into too to make sure you're in tune. So I've got a wide neck, and there's only, as you can see, I'd say there's about an inch clearance from this highest pitched string, and the frets are scalloped. So what it allows me to do is pull with maximum accuracy. And I can even get really nice vocal inflection. Like if blues guitar had ever developed, if the instrument developed along the lines with the music, it would have probably gone like this, because regular guitar is a little limited. You can't really pull. If you notice, Jimi Hendrix in his early days played the guitar upside down,
Right.
and the high E string was at where the low E string is. But what that did was allowed him to pull, like I can pull now. So you get maximum efficiency and control on a pull. So he was actually able to pull down to his third string.
And what he's doing, he's actually pulling that string down about an inch.
I'm not in really good tune. Shame on me.
We talked for a half an hour, so it reacclimated itself.
Yes. It's very sensitive. When you do a concert, it's part of the concert for North Indian music is actually tuning. Because what you're doing is you're tuning yourself, the instrument, and the audience to the music.
So you have,
philosophy.
what, like 3 strings, 4 strings there right above the neck?
These are called jakaras. They serve, it's like ground zero. This is where so it's do. So I tune into, this is do, so it's constantly going. I hit it. And that's actually a nice pulling exercise for, doing blues or whatever. And then also, so that allows Western guys to access that with the harmonic, with these harp strings are synthetics. And then you can also allow Western or Eastern guys play chords.
So how popular is this particular Imratguitar becoming? Or is it well known around?
That's like one of my goals. Is to get this thing, because for a guitar player, look, you got C, C, G, C. That's it. There's only 3 strings, so the notes learning it on the instrument is like real simple.
Right.
But you can play the way I have it tuned, which is tuned to an ancient Rudrabina. I did some research. We were searching high and low for a decent tuning, but I was doing some research, and I was with Imrat. I changed strings so many times. Getting the proper tension and everything. I don't even want to. I hate changing my strings now because of that. But I finally settled on this instrument. I found Rudrabina, and they had the same tuning, and I applied it to my other guitar, that 6-string, because I didn't have this one yet. And then I started. Then when I got this, it just fit like a glove.
As I noticed, really the enharmonics of when you were playing the chords, was just really big.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's the interaction between the sitar player and the tabla? What is that dynamic like?
That is, okay, tabla usually comes on in a classical North Indian concert. What you have to think of it is, I think of it like 4 movements of a symphony. It first starts, and the way the whole metronomic range of a concert goes for one rag, it can last 5 minutes or 5 hours, so it can be compressed or expanded time-wise, just depending. But the metronomic range starts from point 0 to the highest metronomic scale, that there is, and that depends on the ability of the tabla player and the sitar player. So it starts off with an alap, which is very slow. No time. You're just introducing the notes of the scale. So if I'm doing... That's called Yaman Kalyan. It's a 5-note pentatonic up, like 7, 9, 3, sharp 4, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, sharp 4, 3, 2, 1. So you skip 1 and 5 going up, but then you play it going down. But then it becomes like a chess game, because you can't go... But you can go... And what that does is, in Western music, we have, like jazz improv, we have chords to play into, and we, build stories around the chord. What you have to do here is build stories around the skipped notes. And then each rag has a pattern, that's unique to it. Like, Kalyan has... That really establishes the sound of that scale and that... So I can... go like that up, but I can't. That's a whole nother rag. So anybody that knows, like Indian music, people that know raga music, it's like Italians knowing opera. You cannot do. They know the name of every opera. It's
Right.
like it's part of their culture. Which actually in Indian music, it used to be, and this is because I study philosophy with Imrat. When you study with a guru, you learn philosophy, you learn history, you learn music. You learn, how to be a human being. You learn to be, all the beautiful aspects of humanity. When you study like that, and so he brought me into that world, even though he was living in St. Louis. So there's no way I could access this man if I were in India. I didn't know anything. So, but he was in St. Louis looking for students, and I was pretty willing to pick from that huge tree of knowledge.
Right.
And but it becomes a game, and then so to get back to where the tabla comes in, so it starts off alap, then the gut is introduced. Like, so I'll do a really short. So alap, and you introduce the licks or the puckers is what they call it. Okay, and then. So there's a 16-beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then the tablas come in, and you do is start at a medium. Yeah. So, and then they have what's called a manja. The gut is like the head. Manja. So that'd be like the B section or the bridge. Then they also have an antra. So gut starts the middle register, manja goes lower register, antra goes higher register. And then you play with the tabla, and then you go into what's called the module, and then it's like a play between, you do licks and tones, built off the melody. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8. So you build your runs based off of that. You usually start small and to really long extended, things like that. And then the tempo builds up.
Right.
To the next level of tempo. And then you move it to what's called the dirda section. That'd be like the third movement, which begins moving faster. Really fast right hand. I don't have my right pick, but anyway. So you go really fast, like...
Mm-hmm.
I need a different pick. Anyway, so this is too early, but anyway, so... and then it goes to the entra, which is a very fast section. And you use a lot of... let me see if I can do it. I may have to stand back, so... Here the top will be, really, and that's his gig. So he goes really fast, and you're just kind of accompanying it based on the melody or the puckers of the rag. So it goes like that, but if George Harrison had one of these things, he would have probably done, maybe opened it with an all up. Like I'll do a quick, maybe everybody remembers Norwegian Wood or something. Okay, so let's see what I can do. Let's start with a little all up.
Wow. That was crazy good. That was crazy good. I think I should be applauding. I should be applauding for that.
Thank you.
That was great. Hey, you can now the tour. You're going where after the concert? Because the concert, folks, don't forget, it's next Thursday at Sky Music Lounge, and you're taking some folks with you. So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I have. The ensemble consists of Michael Mannering. He's probably the world's leading bass player. He's got this crazy instrument he invented called the hyper bass, and I'll be having him feature that as like doing an interlude on that. So, but he started with Jaco Pastorius, but he's been a leading figure on the bass scene, and also the main guy responsible for all those solo bass players out there.
Yeah.
So, if you're into bass or just that sound and you want to hear what that sucker can do, this guy is like amazing. He was also Wyndham Hill's first call bass player for years. He's a Grammy nominated bass player. He's got a couple of albums out on his own, and he's probably one of the most sought after active bass players on the scene today. Jimmy Hayslip is there, but I would consider this guy as they're all very high caliber. He's a very high caliber player. I've got Lola Christine Henneke. She's based in Los Angeles now. She'll be on vocals and piano. Amazing vocalist, singer-songwriter in her own right. I've been working with her since my days at Webster University. She was on my recital, singing stuff that nobody should ever sung. And I wrote music that should never have been written for a vocalist, but she just pulled it out of the hat. No problem.
She has a very good voice.
Very good voice, very, very talented, very huge range coming out of such a small little body.
Yeah.
And we also, she was really kind enough to put lyrics to one of the tunes on my Open Water CD called Western Sky. And, but I have a lot of vocalists that I get access to her voice on, and, it's just a lot of fun. She's featured on the Open Waters recording as well. She came up and tracked. Actually, we toured a lot of this music before I even recorded it, so we all knew it. Then I've got Brian Tobin on guitar and vocals, amazing. He's based in St. Louis now, and just amazing vocalist and guitarist. I was over at his house the other night jamming. Had so much fun. We were doing like a bunch of Grateful Dead. We were rehearsing, but then we fell into this Grateful Dead zone, and it was like other America and just like this folk music from this. How do you know this? You're just a kid, man. I grew up. But his parents obviously listened to it, and that's where he picked that up. And then Kevin Cayley, he's based in Ithaca, New York. I met him in Webster University, and he actually, because I've been touring now with him on the past couple of runs out, and he told me, yeah, Todd, I studied with Imrat. I go, what? How'd that happen? But I took him over there, and I didn't realize that he continued his studies with him. So he's a drummer that's got amazing chops, because Imrat was teaching, him how to play tablas on drums.
Okay.
And so I love his playing, man. He's just amazing. He's probably one of the most tasteful drummers I've played with, and I played with a lot. And anyway, so Gary Sykes is an amazing drummer. I love playing with him, and he throws rhythms out like, oh my gosh. I mean, to cut through the barrage of rhythms, and because he's throwing so much information out, there's so much to choose from. Kevin is like more along the DeJohnette line, is just like really smooth, cool, whereas Gary's more along the Elvin Jones line. A lot of energy, and but so I love both those styles, but this fits pretty nicely for this kind of music, and myself, we're going from immediately from the gig. At least me and Michael are driving, straight after the 16th gig. That night we leave and we're driving straight to Ardmore because we have a day concert to do, and then the other guys are coming, that day. They can, because we have a Saturday night concert in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got another one in Richardson, Texas at the Iceman Performing Arts Center. Ardmore's in their Performing Arts Center, and then we've got a couple of house concerts going out. We have some downtime in between, and so I booked a bunch of house concerts for Michael and myself, and Lola's got some house concerts she's doing up and out there as well. So then we reconvene back in Richardson.
And then you actually you have a concert scheduled at the Grandel too,
Yes, yeah, that's
and Kinda Blue also.
Kind of Blue. Yeah, that's a smaller thing. That's with a local trio I'm working with. But actually, I'm pulling from my old catalog, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. I did something at the in town here at the Garden Cafe with Rob Rowe, and it was really cool. We did had a really fun outing. So that's like an organ trio, and with drums, guitar, and organ. Oh my God, it's a lot of fun. It's small, compact. At the Grandel, I'll be with a sax player there, so it'll be a quartet. But still, it's gonna be a fun gig. And I'll just be pulling from my old catalog and doing a bunch of old jazz standards, choice standards that by Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, even some by what's his not Ornette Coleman.
Ornette Coleman?
No, Night and Day. Who wrote that? Anyway, by those
guys.
Americans, Great
Whoever they
American
were.
Songbook. Yes. Let me say on the 16th though, it's called actually the Stars in the Night. So all of us, myself, Tracy Silverman is coming up on violin from Nashville. He's like Nashville's A-list player. And he also was started with Windham Hill. So him and Michael Manring, I'm going to team them up on like a really cool solo duet. And then I'm lassoing that guy in on some of my Open Water CD releases that use violin. And then I'm going to bring Silverman in to do some of the string pads on that. And then on the back end of it, because Mike's band Back to the Future opens. And then we're going to do, on the back end, we're going to do some like, more like trickery, and Michael Silverman wanted me to pull some tunes that I had, from the past. So I'll do like my stuff I did from this album I did called Missouri Music, and I'm gonna be doing country song off that one. My version of country music actually is more like bluegrass music. So.
So they have a linkage there. They have a linkage.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, don't forget, Todd's going to be at Sky Music Hall. That's next Thursday, January 16th. Doors open at 7 o'clock. Sky Music Hall is located at 930 Kerrs Mill Road in Baldwin. If you want tickets, go to toddmosby.band, or you can check on Eventbrite and just punch in Todd Mosby's name, and you'll get more information. Todd, I really appreciate you coming in today and bringing your babies in here and playing for us. I love the Norwegian Wood.
Yeah.
That was a nice, peaceful interlude. Now, folks, I hope that you enjoyed that listening on the radio. We want to be able to support you and get the word out, so don't forget next Thursday, folks. Todd, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks a lot for having me, Arnold. I really appreciate it.
You're listening to In Tune. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston. KWRH 92.9 FM, your community radio station in Webster Groves, Missouri.